Stephanie let her head fall back to rest on the top of the couch as the doorbell rang. Ancestors, she was so tired of people. Tired of them showing up. Tired of them asking her how she was doing. Tired of them asking how it felt to be a hero. What her thoughts were on her mother's union to the king. And the big one, what was she going to do now? It had been a never-ending parade of assemblymen, media, family, and friends, ever since the healer had allowed her to return home to finish her recovery. For the first few weeks, her mother had insisted on staying with her, which had created a whole other slew of problems. First was security. Her mother was now the future queen of the House of Protection, and after the assassination attempt, Jotham was taking no chances. Royal guards stood nearly shoulder to shoulder around the house, even though the would-be assassin, Adelaide Pajari, had been apprehended. The woman was batshit crazy, a purist of the worst kind who'd always hated Stephanie's mother because she'd been born into the House of Healing. The second was the fact that Stephanie had never been able to lie to her mother. So while others believed her when she told them she was fine, her mother knew better, and she was right. Stephanie wasn't fine, but it was something only she could work out, and that wasn't possible with her mother's concerned eyes on her at all times. Stephanie knew her mother felt responsible for what had happened to her, but it wasn't true. It wasn't her mother's fault that she'd fallen in love with the king. It wasn't her mother's fault Jotham had fallen in love with her. It wasn't her mother's fault that Pajari had attacked, or that Stephanie had been injured doing her job protecting the royal family. It's what Stephanie had been training for all her life. Stephanie knew all that, but it didn't make it any easier knowing she would never be able to do it again. When the bell rang again, she let out a frustrated growl and surged to her feet. At least she tried to. The sudden stabbing pain in her side stopped her, reminding her she still wasn't completely healed.
"I've got it,"
Maisha called, drying her hands on her apron as she walked out of the kitchen.
"You just stay right there. I'm fine, Maisha,"
she argued, moving more carefully.
"I can get it."
But Maisha had already disappeared down the hallway. The murmur of voices told Stephanie that whoever it was, Maisha had let them in. Taking a deep breath, or at least as deep as she could with one lung, she pasted a smile on her face and turned. She didn't expect to see the man who easily moved toward her in his expertly tailored suit, the exact color of his dark hair that had just a trace of silver in it.
"Majesty."
When she went to bow, Jotham waved her off.
"No, Stephanie. I've told you that's not necessary. We're family now."
"Not yet,"
she told him quietly.
"True, but soon."
He gestured to the couch.
"May we sit? There's something we need to discuss."
"Of course, Majesty."
Returning to her seat, she did her best to hide her discomfort, but knew she hadn't fooled him.
"Your injury is still causing you pain."
His brows creased in concern.
"Now and then, Majesty. It's to be expected."
"I suppose it is, and I've repeatedly asked you to call me Jotham."
Stephanie said nothing. She was still having a problem with that, with being on a first-name basis with the king of the House of Protection. Jotham sighed, but sat.
"I'm here because your mother is concerned about you."
"I've repeatedly told her that I'm fine."
"Yes, but she doesn't believe you any more than I do. She blames herself for you being injured."
"That's ridiculous,"
Stephanie interrupted as she straightened in her seat.
"And for you no longer being able to achieve your dream."
He continued as if she hadn't spoken.
"Jacinda told me how you wanted to be the first woman to ever serve as a royal guard. How you wanted to be a member of my guard. I have to admit that it surprised me, because I'd never considered it before."
He made sure he had her complete attention before he continued.
"But I have to be honest with you, Stephanie. No matter how good your credentials, no matter who recommended you, I would never have allowed you to become a member of either mine or your mother's royal guard."
"What? Why?"
She couldn't believe he was saying this. She thought better of Jotham.
"You need to watch something,"
he said instead of answering. Pulling out his portable comm, he set it on the table so they could both see the screen, and started a recording. Stephanie snapped her mouth closed, silently fuming. She knew better than to argue with the king, but she also knew there was nothing Jotham could show her that could justify such blatant discrimination. Still, she turned her attention to the recording.